Welcome back and hello if you are new. I hope all of you have had a wonderful Christmas and are kicking off 2022 in fantastic fashion. I can tell you everything you want to know in one word: story. Because when you have story, you can do whatever you want to do. Those are the incredibly wise words of one of the best composers of all time and one of my favourite. Actually, literally today, I bought this. One of my favourite composers, which is none other than Hans Zimmer. 2 years after the re-release of their fantastic Veil of Imagination, it seems that Wilderun have created the album to beat, really, in progressive metal, and we're only 7 days into January. Now, the definition of Epigone is a acolyte or a follower of sorts, and particularly where it's kind of referenced in the arts. The record grapples with the idea of failure, struggling to represent their identity correctly, and also, like so many artists in 2020, basically having the rug pulled completely from beneath them. There's definitely a sense of thread throughout the record and a strong sense of melody. So for me, this record is made up of a prologue, 3 acts, and an epilogue. So we start the record off with the prologue, which is Exhaler, laying the foundation of the melody, which we then hear in Act 1, which is Woolgatherer and Passenger. After that, we then move into the second act, which I like to call Identifier and Ambition. So Identifier is another fairly long, very progressive song, and then Ambition is kind of a 2-minute interlude, which almost reminded me of, what Ripley would have heard on the Nostromo, intercepting that signal. It's quite cold, it's quite barren, and very ominous. And then we move into Act 3, which is made up of Distraction. So Distraction technically has 4 tracks, but in this, I think, really the main songs are Distractions 1, 2, and 3, which kind of work as sort of like an ebb and flow. And then we get to Distraction Nulla, which is essentially the epilogue of the album, and that's kind of, a bit more of an atmospheric song as well. First and foremost, this is a big record. You've got choir, horns, synthesizers, folk sections, and then of course the metal stuff. But the thing is it's pulled off brilliantly, and I think due in part to Jens Bogren's fantastic production. When you've got so much stuff kind of going on at the same time in Wilderun, I think it's very easy for it to have gone wrong. But for me, everything sounds really, really clear. There are moments where kind of instruments are pushed forward or they're pulled back, and it really allows for a sense of space in something that could have really been quite convoluted and really quite messy. And like even the heavy bits, the drums are quite, especially when you get to like blast beats, the drums are quite light and fluttery, which work really nicely against the orchestration. So it's not kind of like this really kind of jarring contrast. So this sense of the cinematic can kind of be seen all over the record, but I think a great example of it is on Distraction 3. So after we've had the kind of crazy flurry of real kind of heavy metal straight up song, which is Distraction 2, we then kind of get the Hans Zimmer mode switched on, and it kind of creates this really nice cinematic air. But then I also think that there are some amazing moments where the metal side is concerned, particularly where drums are on Distraction 2, which really changes the overall feel of everything quite seamlessly. But, first and foremost, Wilderun are a metal band, and there's some great sort of moments on here where they really go for it, like on Passenger, where they have that sort of like Opeth moment, I guess you could say. And then on Identifier as well, there's obviously really solid riff work happening on here. It's To absorb the album, there's so much kind of going on that the devil really is in the details here. And one of the kind of jewel in Wilderun's crown is the fact that they do this thing where they lay the groundwork in verses. So you'll have the first verse, which will have, you know, kind of the main riff or the main melody. And then when we come back round to the second verse, it's the same riff, but they're adding little, you know, little specks of colour. And that's the kind of thing, you know, it's like having a painting where you've done the first coat, but it's the second coat with those details that really make it stand out. I think that guitar solos definitely deserve a special mention here. There are some amazing moments, particularly on Wool Gatherer, and there's a really great wah solo on Identifier. But then they also use the guitar to great effect. On Identifier, there's a guitar solo which ends in a key change, which completely changes the idea of where the song is. But it's so kind of effortless and cinematic that you don't even really notice it until you're in. Not wanting to rehash Veil of Imagination, on Epigone, Wilderun have created something which is more introspective, darker, deeper, and I think, you know, really pushing the boundaries of composition in 2022 that you could attribute to a metal band. Epigone is an absolutely incredible beginning to January, and we're literally like a week in and we've got an album of the year contender already. It is absolutely fantastic. So I hope you guys enjoyed my first album review of 2022. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And it'd be great if you could hit that like and subscribe button. But otherwise, I will see you very, very soon. Take care, my friends, and be safe.